What's up? How are you?
How are you? Look at you with your cool
Oh,
background there.
oh, thank you.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. I just finished the workout, got refreshed, and now I'm ready for our live. I'm excited. Hold on, let me.
Yes. Well, while you do that, I'm going to introduce you because I wanted to get you on here because there always seems to be a little glitch with Instagram. I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram. I don't know if you do, but
I've never done this, so I don't know. It's we'll see. We'll see
all
how it
right.
goes.
Yeah. So I do want to introduce everyone. Now, today joining me is I'm joined by Alex Valencia. He's a dynamic entrepreneur, seasoned marketer, and president of We Do Web, an Inc. 5000 recognized leader in legal and medical content marketing. Now, with over a decade of expertise in SEO, digital strategy, and business growth, Alex has helped countless professionals dominate their industries. Now, beyond marketing, and this is why I really wanted Alex to join me tonight, he is passionate about personal development, emotional intelligence, and mentoring men to break past their limiting belief. Now, a Forbes Council member and Search Engine Journal contributor, Alex shares deep insights on self-growth, transparency, and high-performance living. Whether Alex is training in MMA, studying human behavior, or pushing his limits, Alex embodies a relentless commitment to growth and success.
Wow, who is that guy?
That would be you.
That's pretty cool. Thank you.
So,
Thank you for the intro.
yeah. So, like I said, I really wanted you to join me on here tonight. If you don't follow Alex, definitely follow him. We'll give you his IG handle at the end, and you can also see when, on top where it's scrolling my name, it has that he's on also here with me. I think it's just your name, right?
Yeah, it's
Alexander
Alexander
Valencia.
Valencia. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So definitely follow him. He always has business content, which is great. And I want you to talk a little bit about that, but his personal development content is just amazing, especially for men, where in society, which is what I want to talk about, is kind of a stigma for men to have personal development, growth, show vulnerability, a spiritual side. And I really think you truly embody that. You're showing that. You follow that. You live that. I see you work out. I don't know if you work out once or twice a day, but you're always you're always working
I have
out.
way too much time in life.
No, I mean, it's great because you know what? That's kind of a therapy, And I'm sure when you're there, I mean, I don't know how you feel like when I'm working out, I'm definitely thinking and my mind's going and, it's kind of a therapy in a way, whether it's business or whether it's personal, you're really thinking about things. But wanted to kind of get real and raw and kind of speak unfiltered as we can. We only have 30 minutes and it goes by really quick. I know I want to talk about relationships, friendships between men and women. I want to talk about that with you. I want to talk about vulnerability, but let's get into it. I want to ask you, Alex, as a man, let me ask you, do you truly think that men and women can have meaningful platonic friendships, or does attraction always get in the way? Man's perspective.
Um, I think it's difficult, especially if you're in a relationship, but there are, right? I'm in a time right now where I've actually made some really good platonic relationships.
Mhm.
And they've been very helpful, right? So I think there's definitely room for it. It's just
Okay.
control, right? I just self-control. I think attractions come in different ways, right? I think we're all somehow connected no matter what, right?
Yeah.
There's no coincidences. You put yourselves in different situations, right? It's how you
Hmm.
handle it, and we're all guilty of handling things the wrong way, or a guy or a girl perceiving a relationship the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
But it just limiting the belief of what that attraction is and where it's coming from.
Hmm.
You could have a really good friendship with a guy and never really feel any sexual attraction to him.
Hmm.
There's situations where men can't have a relationship with a girl feeling like, hey, I've always had a crush on her. I always wanted to take that to the next level, but you fall into the friend zone. You get that a lot. So that's where it becomes complicated. But I think it's possible. I think it's very difficult, especially if you're in a relationship, to
Hmm.
try to convince someone, hey, that's my best friend, right? But we used to hook up. No, that's not going to work, right?
Yes.
So it's a blurred line, and I think it comes with trust. I think if you're single, it's a lot easier to do
Hmm.
it. If you're in a relationship, I think you just got to respect
Yeah.
that side of it and see how you can move forward without it, or maybe create that relationship with whoever you're with
Yeah.
to see how you can expand it. But it's a tough one.
It is. I think it definitely is a tough one. I have been in situations where I've like adored the guy as my guy friend, and then he ends up wanting a little bit more, or I don't want that, or to the point of where we're really good friends, and then let's say he gets into a relationship, and then his girlfriend's like, no, you're not gonna be friends with her, and I'm like, no, really, you want him to be friends with me because I'm the girl who's not gonna hit on your guy, and I'm gonna tell you if he does anything behind your back.
Right. And then
So
you
yeah,
have those kind of friendships,
yeah,
right?
yeah, where you set them straight, and so
Exactly. But
yeah,
again, that's where it's the guy's responsibility um, to have that trust and give that communication to whoever they're with. That's like, hey, I've got this friend. They've always been. I want you to
yeah,
introduce them.
yeah,
Nothing's ever happened. I think the line's blurred when something has happened. But if nothing's ever occurred between the two, I think it can be, especially if the two girls get along and then they start doing stuff. But I think
yeah,
communication is key. That's one thing I've learned the past year or two is, you got to learn how to communicate, which is why this whole start of this emotional intelligence and trying to learn development started coming about, is trying to learn about
yeah.
myself and why I didn't communicate well.
Yeah, absolutely. And communication is huge, whether it's in relationship, friendships, family, work. It's just even just communicating with the person at Publix. It's just that you're trying to find something out from them, or it really is important. A lot of people don't know how to communicate, and I think that is it really it gets me because I am so much of a pro, absolutely, communicate better, growth and just emotional intelligence, and so it makes me happy to see a man actually taking that and being vulnerable and being proud of it and being like, hey guys, come on, this is okay for us to do. And you're still all manly. So on top of that.
That's
So yeah.
It's funny because I came to a point where, and this was mostly with men. I was a part of a Bible study group at my kids' school
Okay.
every Friday morning for about 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd all go there and we'd read scripture and we'd talk about things, and then we'd leave in the same way, right? It was just let's check off the box
Yeah.
that we did this. And one day I just got really upset. It was like, we spend our time taking away from
Yeah.
work, showing up to this thing, but nobody here has actually been vulnerable or said shit about themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody actually said, hey man, can we have a cup of coffee? I'm kind of struggling with this.
Yes.
Or are we talking about any real topics that our Lord and Savior could probably work on it and help us? But if we're there silent and just consuming information but not delivering our hurt, our pains, our vulnerabilities to other men, we're
Yeah.
not going to get fixed. And even still, right? It's just difficult. So I made it a point to bring that out in the group. And from then on, it was like, I'm not going to have any shallow conversations with anyone ever again. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
we can't talk real, if I can't talk outside of the traffic and the weather with you, then we can't be friends. Like, I need to dig down deep and find out about you. What brought you
Yes.
here? What's taking you away from you? What's hurting you? What can we talk about? What can we pray about?
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where I'm at now. And that's what, all this tussle of
Yeah.
everything is coming about.
Yes, and mental stimulation. I mean, people don't understand that. And for any guys that are watching right now, I'm going to tell you, 99% of women find vulnerability extremely attractive. I mean, if a man can be vulnerable, I mean, and I'm raising a young man, and I always tell him, don't be afraid, go deep into your feelings if you have to cry. And it's a struggle. It is a struggle because I'm struggling against society, for him, shutting down and me telling him, no, it is okay. You need to have that healthy relationship and be able to have that, emotional intelligence. So it's really hard. So, I mean, I commend you for doing that. Now, do you think that, radical honesty in men and being upfront about their emotions and struggle and intentions, does that change the dynamics in friendships between men? That's the first part of the question.
So first answer to that is depends on the man, right?
Okay.
It's got to have reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
Reciprocity, is that right?
Yes.
It's got to be reciprocal, right?
Yes.
So I've got to feel like I can trust this person, that I can divulge any information, right? Something that I wouldn't tell anybody else but I have to feel comfortable that they're going to divulge some information too, right? It's give and take. I
Yeah.
can't just be giving you information and you not telling me anything back, because that's not truly being
Mm-hmm.
transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so that needs to be done. You need to have that, and I think some men are open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Some men are just, they stuff it all in, right? I'm very easy at detaching, right? It's very easy for me to detach,
Yeah.
to isolate,
Okay.
to push people away, and then suck things in. But I had to learn, right? I had to find certain people that it's like, shit, I can't hold on to this anymore. It's hurting my chest. Like, I just can't hold on to it anymore. Now
Yeah.
I'm like a open faucet. Like, somebody asked me a question, it's like,
Yeah.
now it's too much.
Which is great.
But it's good.
Yeah.
It's helped so many people. It's really
Mhm.
helped so many people. My own vulnerability, my own true hardcore honesty, because it's like, shit, I've never really
Yeah.
met anybody that did this. You're making me feel comfortable to speak out. And that same thing
Mhm.
happened in that group. Once I spoke out and I talked about what my issues or what my struggles were, and I got upset that we weren't doing that, the
Mhm.
group changed. The whole
Yeah.
dynamic of the group changed.
Yeah.
Every Friday now, men look forward to it. It used to
Yeah.
be 12 guys, now it's 30 guys. Now everybody's talking about going to this group so
Yeah.
they can talk shit about what they're feeling.
Absolutely. And that's great. And it took you to take that step because the other ones didn't want to be vulnerable.
Right.
So, and regarding the detachment that you're saying you had to work on that. And
I'm
do you
still
think that
working.
you're still working on it? Now? Because in my last week, I had my guest, Lynn Martinez, and I were talking about detachment. And I had said to her, I go, oh, I'm Aquarius. I'm so easily detached. I detach easily. I'm like, it's been my whole life. I have this little compartment. Do you think it's helped you?
Detaching?
Yeah.
I think we create a defense mechanism from when we're children.
Yeah.
Um, so we figured that out, right? I learned that I was creating that. It's funny. I was talking to somebody that you're all or nothing, right? You're either
Yeah.
extreme or you're not, right? You're either all in or you just pull away.
Mhm.
And I think it's just something we create for ourselves, just like putting on a blanket to protect our feelings because we went through something and there was a trauma that we have to dig down and deep. There's an amazing verse that there's a reason the axe is at the root.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
got to knock it out from the root. So I think
Yeah.
detachment comes from whatever root issues we might have.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's a work in progress. I always say it's a
Yeah.
work to your last breath on earth. It is a work. You got to work. You think you've healed and then something triggers you, or you think if something else comes up in life later on. I mean, it's definitely a work.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you about men. Do you think men, I'm sorry. Let me go back to the vulnerability part where men being upfront about emotions and struggles. We talked about that in the relationship with other men. Do you think it makes relationships between men and women, whether it's a romantic relationship, a marriage, a dating, do you think it makes it easier or harder for men being able to be
With vulnerability?
vulnerability? Yeah.
If they're vulnerable with other men. So there's a verse in the Bible, and I'm not here to be like, but two are
No,
better
no,
than
I
one
love it
because
because you're spiritual. I love it. Yes, yeah, but
two are
not
better
we're not
than
talking
one
about
because they have a good return for their labor, right?
okay.
Ecclesiastes 4:9.
Mm-hmm.
So men that, and then the other one is, therefore confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a guide for you to go and speak to someone. I think if you're a man and you're speaking to other men vulnerably,
Mm-hmm.
your relationship with your girlfriend or spouse is going to be better because you're not bottling it, right? You're
Yeah.
not holding any resentments. You're letting it out. The problem is
Yeah.
holding things in, right? That's why meditation is so important. That's
Oh,
why
yeah.
this billion-dollar business of self-help has come about because we're all looking and we're searching on how do we become better? How do I be a better version of myself for either me or for whoever you might be with to get that fixed. So you have to. I think it definitely helps a relationship if men are hanging out with other good men that are going to give them good advice, right? Because you have the buddy that's going to take you out and party and get you drunk,
Of
but
course.
then you have the other friend that's, hey man, let me speak to you honestly, and I'm telling you, I think what you're doing is wrong. Let's try to move forward this way, right? Let me help you out. Let me be your accountability problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go on Instagram right now, like there's probably 17 guys selling a get out of watching porn program because
Yeah.
nobody talks
Yeah.
about it. Everybody's
Yes.
afraid to talk about it. And it's been normalized to do
Yeah.
so, but nobody realizes how bad it is for you, especially at a young age.
Oh my God. It desensitizes you. Uh,
Desensitizes.
because I've
for
spoken to
sure.
other men and they say it desensitizes you, that it actually makes you feel like when you are intimate, when you do, and especially as you're young and you're watching it, you know, you feel that that's the way it is going to be intimately, and that's not the way it is, and you're expecting that same scenario, so it just messes with your head, and then you're not even able to give your all, you know?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then men watching that at a young age personify themselves as that man. So they grow
Yeah.
up with the insecurity of being like this fictional person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's very hard. And, you know, in regards to that, and you said people don't want to talk about it. Like we have to, like that's why I said we're going to talk real and unfiltered. We have to talk about that because the youth, like you said, if this starts in the youth and it does, it messes them up. It messes men up into adulthood. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that does affect relationships, you know, or, you know, and it's relation, it's really a sad cycle and a situation. And I think, and I hope people understand, because you and I are on a different level, but people understand that that's what the bad part of society wants, to keep a man down, you know, wants to make that man weak. And I think that's where our, you know, I know, I believe, you know, we each have feminine and masculine energies, and where nowadays it seems women are taking even more of a stronger masculine role, and the men are taking more of a feminine role, and it's kind of reversed the roles, and it's just not right. You know, it's not that the polarization is just out the window at that point. And then women want to wonder, you know, oh, I don't have a real man here. I don't have a man, a protector, a provider, you know, a man I can feel safe with emotionally. Well, society's allowing that. And instead of taking these initiatives that you have taken, you grow, you heal, you get along with other men in that same group. And I think that's more that we need to do that and talk about that for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. I think it goes down to what society is teaching, what the family that the kids are brought up from, right? There
Yeah.
should still be a gender role, right?
Yes. Yeah.
They're a big believer, right? There's, you know, and not to be, you know, over masculine or
Yeah.
feminine in any way, but there has to be a gender role. You got to allow the man to do what the man does and allow the
Yeah.
woman what the woman does.
Yeah.
They come
Yeah.
together as one, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had. But you're
Yeah.
right. I think society is definitely demasculinizing men on purpose, right? I think it's a form of oppression for
Yeah.
who knows what conspiracy might be coming. But
Yeah.
there's a purpose for it, right? There's a
Yeah.
reason that there's been indoctrination of it since very early on
Hmm.
to try to bring men down. And there's so many people with programs out there that they're fighting against this, right? Getting men like my old jujitsu coach has an amazing program, like 21 days to be a better husband, better man, be
Yeah.
stronger, get fit, right? Like mentally and change everybody to change within themselves so they can take that role back in.
Yeah.
And not feel emasculated in their own home, but feel like a man because they have a purpose.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And I think many men, they feel that pressure to also, even though they're not, and society's trying to push them down, but sometimes they want to be like strong and self-sufficient. They don't want that vulnerability. Now, let me ask you, what was, maybe you can inspire someone to break out of that mindset and start within themselves to form a more authentic connection just to themselves. Like, what can you share? Like, what was your aha moment? Like, okay, you know, Alex, you're talking to yourself. Okay, Alex, this is your aha moment. This is for you to take the step in the right direction and start with the growth and start with the emotional intelligence.
I had gone to a retreat
Mm-hmm.
and I came back to the retreat and I went to a luncheon at the group that I was at. They
Okay.
were doing a luncheon, and when I was there, I felt really out of place. And I
Okay.
was there for like 2 minutes, and I felt really out of place because at this retreat, all my truths and honesties and guilt and everything that, like, all my lies and deceit and everything that I'd done in the dark came out. So for
Yeah.
me, now I was vulnerable. Not that I was clean, right? Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
broken.
Yeah.
You know, I'm more broken than a bag of potato chips from Big Lots. But I didn't feel comfortable in a room of men that were lying to themselves or lying, right? And again, we're all broken, right? Nobody's really righteous, but I just didn't feel
Absolutely.
comfortable, and that led me on a journey to just try to continue being honest with myself and trying to educate myself and getting books on it. And, you know, Instagram's such a great meme resource that
Yeah.
you might be thinking of something and it's like all of a sudden a meme pops up that
Yeah.
helps you out, and you start sharing those, and you never know who it helps, right? I started when, you know, I started going to church, and then doing the Bible studies, and then there was a lot of verses, and I would post, and people that weren't even Christian would text me, be like,
Yeah.
man, you have no idea what this did for me, right? So it was like, all right, this, you know, this isn't me. I wasn't doing it, right? It came through God, to share this, right? And whatever verse or word that helped somebody, just kind of gives you that little umph. I'm like, okay, I'm doing something good. And then I started doing the workout stuff, right? I think that the workout stuff helps out because that's always been a passion of mine. And, me taking it to the next level, because there's a lot of discipline. There's a lot of sacrifice when it comes to doing that, right? So you post what's good and what can help. And that's what kind of started the journey. And I just started educating myself. When I became Christian, it wasn't enough, right? During COVID, I went super nuts over trying to learn more outside of Christianity. It was like, it just can't be this. So I started reading other books and stuff to actually try to combat what the word said, but it's still everything that was outside of it was already inside of it, and the truth is alive. So to me, it was that was kind of the catalyst to get everything going and get on this journey. And realizing the people, your behaviors with the people you hurt and the things that you did, you just want to recover from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you remember, I don't want to put you on the spot, like what was like the best, like you said you started reading books and you started going to retreats, like what was your first like book that said, okay, let me start opening that may be able to help the men that are listening to this? Like what would be like the first book you could
I would look
recommend
at
to them?
I would just start with the Bible. I would read the book of Job.
Okay.
Right, definitely the book of Job. Read Samson and David's story, right? There's no better story than the story of David, who had a heart for God. Every man, there's no man worse than David. If you think you've done some shitty shit, no, David's probably done something. So you want to actually look at that, and then don't overthink it. Just kind of read that. Other books, I love How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. The Devil. Oh my God, what's that book called? I should have it here. It's basically the devil speaking to you. It's amazing. It's an old book. It almost wasn't let out, but the family finally released it years ago. It's somewhere in the 1960s. I'll have to find it.
Or you find it, you send it to me, because I repost this on my timeline and on YouTube. So we'll definitely put that in, and we'll mention some of those books as well.
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. Right now, I'm reading "Why We Wrestle with God," right, by Jordan Peterson. I just finished the Four Agreements, which was awesome.
Yes.
I posted a whole bunch of videos. If you guys want to see them, I reviewed like every chapter on there. That was cool. It was very, very cool, and such a short read, but so much great information. So I was excited about that one.
Yes, the Four Agreements. I saw you post about that, and I was like, I can't believe he's reading that. That's such an awesome.
So I go into all Four Agreements in there.
Yes. I actually read that book. I had a very bad breakup, and I went on vacation for the first time myself, like ever, like by myself, vacation out of the country, and I took that book with me. And and that opened the door for me, just of so many things. And I was like, when I saw you that you were posting about that and you were talking about each chapter, or not each chapter, each agreement, I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy he's reading that book. It really is a fantastic book.
And then I started the voice of somebody else on my stories or reel commented, if you like the Four Agreements, you'll like the voice of. It's by Manuel Ruiz as well.
Yeah.
It's the voice of something.
He has great books. I've read other books of his. He has fantastic books. Now we have a comment here where the Love Flow says, Men need this safe space where to express themselves. Vulnerability is beautiful in men. So this kind of ties into my question that I'm going to ask you. Do you think women have a responsibility to create safe spaces for men to be honest and vulnerable, or is it solely up to a man to take that leap?
I think if you're in a relationship with someone, you've got to know each other well enough that you were vulnerable from the beginning to avoid anything in the future. If you're not, right, that it's just too hurtful, right? It's difficult. If you both go into the relationship detached and not being honest with your past, or, right, that's how you really get to know somebody. And some of us avoid it because it's like, that was my old life. I don't want anybody to know. There's too much trauma. But then the person really gets to know you, and eventually that's going to bottle up and come out. So you have to, you both have to create it. It's both of your responsibility. I can tell you, if I know, my brother and my sister-in-law have, like, I think my brother told my sister-in-law absolutely everything he's ever done. And they have a pretty amazing relationship, and he's pretty, but he's not vulnerable. Like, he's not that vulnerable guy where he talks about emotions, but he does with her. So that's pretty awesome.
That's a beautiful relationship to have. So I really commend them. That's a beautiful relationship to have, and what a beautiful gift that God has given them. So I agree with you. I think your partner definitely has to, if you're in a relationship, has to be able to embrace that vulnerability and allow you that safe space without judgment, and allow that. And I think it makes a relationship that much stronger. When you can connect on that level. I think it's beautiful. So let me ask you, what would the one thing be? We're running out of time here. I want this to go for like an hour. We can't, but let me ask you, it's been great topics here. What's the one thing that you would recommend to men wanting to level up their personal life? If you had, if you can say one, or you can say three to me, or to people listening, like, what's the one thing you'd say, hey, listen, if a guy came to you, a friend, a man came to you and said, listen, Alex, how can I start this journey? I see that you're mentoring men. I think it's great. I want to see you grow, and I want to see you do retreats and tell me, hey, Karen, I'm doing this man retreat. I would love to see that. But let's say just a man came to you one-on-one. What would be the one thing that you recommend to him to start?
If you're not working out, get your ass in the gym, first of all. Definitely work out. Do something. We get to move our bodies, right? We're blessed that we were. It's almost sinful not to use it. And it's not to work out, get buff or anything. It's just be healthy. Be healthy of body, because then it starts translating into the mind. Educate yourself. Read every day. Read. If you don't, haven't following anything spiritual, you can't do this alone. You can't hire a being out there that loves you and wants you to come to them and wants you to talk to them and pray to them and meditate, and man, just give yourself up and surrender. And even if you're the shittiest person on the planet, just do it. Just allow yourself to give away that pride and surrender to something bigger than you, because they can potentially help, right? And we're all a work in progress daily, right? God tells us that we are a work that he never stops working on. So I would do those things.
Absolutely. And I think, so this, you kind of led me on to my next one, that what is, like, we all know, like, I'm, I always say, for me, it is God, but some people, maybe I always say, listen, I don't care what you believe in, as long as you're spiritual. For me, it's God. Maybe for you, it's Joe, Janice, whoever you want to call it, Buddha, sun, whatever. But you do have to believe in something. You do have, like you said, the higher up, you definitely have to. Believing that the meditation, that was life-changing for me. The meditation, absolutely. I start 7 days a week, at least 5 days I'm meditating. If I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't go to sleep, I meditate immediately. My mind goes down and I immediately go back to sleep. So meditating, I do agree with you. Man or woman, I think it's fantastic. It's such a game changer. But, like, talking about the spiritual side, what's the one spiritual teacher that you think is a must follow?
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I said, whether you believe in God, Jesus, you need to believe in something.
You don't have to be a Christian or anything, but just listen to what he says. Look at the book of Matthew and everything he says. You're gonna find the same information in Buddha. You're gonna find it everywhere. He just wants peace. He just wants you to love yourself.
Absolutely.
And be there, right? Like, there was some, if I have time, I took some notes of,
Hmm.
there was some verses I wanted to tell if they were men on here. Um, like Romans 12:2 says, and this is about not only meditation, but changing your mindset, right? If there was something I would tell men, there's this
Hmm.
beautiful verse in the Bible, and I'm sure everybody's heard it. And do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your
Hmm.
mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, good, pleasing, and perfect will.
Yeah.
Um, it's, the message is basically you can transform your mind.
Yeah.
And then the other one was I took from Job because I said Job, and this goes into the four agreements, and then the other one,
Hmm.
the other book that they're talking about, because I don't know where it came from, at what point we
Uh-huh.
started speaking negatively, and I'm so guilty of this. Like sometimes I gotta, like, dude, shut up, right? Like
Yeah.
shut that language down, right? Because you're
Yeah.
speaking. Uh, but it was in Job, right? Back then, Job, who the devil begged God, basically.
Hmm.
So even if I were innocent, my mouth would condemn me. If I were blameless, it would pronounce me guilty.
Hmm.
We are our own enemies.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
mind knows
Our
too
mind.
much about ourselves. We can speak so much negativity. And again, I'm guilty of this. And it was funny because I was doing my devotional this morning and this came up, and I'm like, man, I gotta have that. I gotta announce that on the show tonight because it hit me hard. And I
Right.
know it's a practice that I gotta continue working on, is not speaking negativity. I mean, to myself,
Absolutely.
because words are sharper. The tongue is sharper than a sword, right? So even
Absolutely.
the words that other people tell us, we believe it, right? Like I remember a teacher telling me I was dumb or I was slow or anything. Like them things stick with you. So you got to be careful what you say to people.
You do.
Obviously, the way you act, right? Like, the way you behave and act towards people too is horrible. But there's something about the word that sticks to us, and just be careful.
It is. The tongue is a mighty sword. And it's so funny that you made the comment about one time a teacher said something that's as I always say, we all have what may be a small trauma. Well, maybe a big trauma to me, maybe a small trauma to you.
Right.
But there was something a fourth grade teacher said to me that I had taken it into adulthood. And it really got to me. And I had to go through some serious, like digging down deep to get it out, because no matter what, I knew it wasn't true, but I had to, until I was able to, you know, um, rise above that. And like you said, you
Right.
got to watch your words, whether it's with kids, whether it's adults. And it's hard. It's hard because we're human. And sometimes things, and it's happened to me, things come out of here that shouldn't come out.
Right.
Just saying here.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
just speak in anger sometimes, or just
absolutely.
you don't even know what you're saying, right? And
Yeah. And
sometimes you're projecting. We're human, right? We make mistakes. We're human.
yes,
So
absolutely. And I do have, when you talked about negativity, I do have a saying. I always say to myself, there's two things I say to myself when I start thinking negative, or if I start feeling like a little bit negative. I always say, I am Karen Larea and only good things happen for me. I say
I
it to
like.
myself. Or I always say, I'm Karen Larea and I am one of God's favorites, to get
I love
myself
that.
out of that mind frame, like, hey, you know what? God's got your back.
Yeah. Yeah. We're
So you're
children. We're children of God.
abs-
Whatever that God means to you, right? It's an energy. We're still, no
exactly, it's
matter
an
what
energy.
you guys believe in out
Yeah,
there, we're still the child of something
of
out
something.
there, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
just
Yeah. Of some. That's why I always say, for me it's God, but for you it may be Buddha, it may be the sun, it may be John. Just it's something that you believe in, definitely. Well, Alex, we've gone even 5 minutes over. I wish we could continue on this. This has just been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. I think we're just two Miramar kids trying
yeah,
to make the world a better place.
exactly.
Yeah. So definitely, I want, people, where can they follow you? Because you guys have got to follow, men or women. Definitely, my followers, go and follow Alex. Where can they find you, Alex?
Instagram is Alexander Valencia, at Alexander Valencia. That's typically where I spend most of my time. I have a TikTok for business and stuff, but I don't really spend a lot of time there, or Facebook. Just
Yeah.
Instagram, Alexander Valencia. If you want to email me, you have any questions, you want to talk, vulnerable or anything, you need help with anything, want some books or retreats. I might start a podcast soon too, so be aware of that. It's
Yes.
my email is alex@wedoweb.com,
Yes.
and you can read. Thank you so
Yes.
much. This was
Yes.
fun.
No, thank you. And definitely also go on his Instagram, because he does also some great stuff with his business as well. So definitely see him. So Alex, thank you so much. My friend, have a wonderful night and keep up the great work that you're doing. You're really doing a great service.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Karen. Have a great
Thank you.
night.
All
Thanks
right.
for
Good night.
watching.
You too.
Bye.